Surah Qiyamah. Central theme and relationship with the previous surah. Like the previous surahs of this group, this surah too warns the disbelievers about the Day of Judgment. The previous surah ended on the note that the real reason due to which the slaves to worldly pleasures were evading the reminders of this day was that they had lost their innate guidance of discerning good and evil. The practice of the Almighty is that those who are alive to this guidance are blessed with further guidance, and those who become indifferent to it become so blind and deaf to the truth that no reminder is able to influence them. In order to fully delineate this law of guidance, the Almighty has sworn by the reproaching soul found innately in every human being and has presented it to substantiate the Day of Judgment. This reproaching soul is hidden in a person and chides him on every evil that emanates from him. Its very existence in a human being is ample proof of the fact that man will not be held unaccountable and is not given any absolute powers. In other words, it is not possible that the Almighty remain unconcerned with what good or evil He may do. Man is a mini-world, and the existence of the reproaching soul within him suggests that this mega-world also has a reproaching soul which is called the Day of Judgment. It will manifest one day and reproach and chide people on their evil deeds. These were the people who remained indifferent to their internal mechanism of reproach. It is evident from this discussion that the greater day of judgment has a reflection in every human being in the form of his conscience and reproaching soul, which can be termed as a lesser day of judgment. In other words, if a person does some evil, he does not do it in hiding. He does so at the very doors of the divine court of justice before a divine judge. Consequently, after presenting the reproaching soul as witness, the Qur'an says, بَلْ يُرِيدُ الْإِنسَانُ لِيَفْجُرَ أَمَامَهُ. Or, in fact, man wants to be mischievous before his conscience. This very aspect is explained in subsequent verses by the words, بَلِ الْإِنسَانُ عَلَى نَفْسِهِ بَصِيرًا وَلَوْ أَلْقَى مَعَاذِيرًا. Or, in fact, he himself is a witness upon his own self, however much he present excuses. Here, it should be kept in consideration that the experts of modern moral philosophy have also acknowledged certain basic virtues as virtues and certain basic vices as vices, and regarded this to be a foundational principle. They have then gone on to build their theories on this principle. However, they have not been able to tell them from where they have deduced these virtues to be virtues and these vices to be vices. As a result, the edifices they have built have no foundation to stand upon. Nevertheless, they accept that man has an awareness of basic virtues and basic vices. In this surah, the Qur'an has referred to this aspect by saying that the Almighty has not only made man innately aware of good and evil, He has also blessed him with a conscience which chides him on evil deeds and praises him on good ones. And then the Qur'an, on the basis of this psychological reality, has substantiated the Day of Judgment and the reward and punishment that will take place on that day. In other words, if the Almighty has devised a method for reproaching a person from within him on every evil that emanates from him and praising him on every good that ensues from him, how is it possible that He will not bring about a day of accountability for the whole of this world and each person not be rewarded and punished for his deeds? Analysis of the Discourse. Section 1, verses 1 to 6. An oath is sworn by the Day of Judgment on the certainty of the day. The reproaching soul in man is also presented as a proof of this day, and it is asserted that those disbelievers who are demanding to hasten the advent of this day and regard their recreation after being decayed into the dust to be an impossibility are actually going against the very testimony of their conscience. Their example is that of an audacious thief who steals right before the eyes of the judge. Section 2, verses 7 to 15. A rejoinder is sounded to those who are demanding to hasten the advent of the Day of Judgment. Today, they are trying to deny an obvious reality and are pestering the Prophet Muhammad ﷺ by asking him to hasten the arrival of the Day of Judgment. However, when it will come about with a great upheaval, they will acknowledge that there is no place for them to escape to. On that day, there will be no resting place for anyone except with God. Each person will be called upon to answer for every deed of his, and this reality is not hidden to them, even though they might try their utmost to cover up by their frivolous talk. Section 3, verses 16 to 19. The Prophet Muhammad ﷺ is asked to refrain from showing hurry in acquiring the Qur'an and is asked to exercise patience. However much his opponents might show haste, he should not be influenced by them and demand the Qur'an be revealed soon. He should calmly acquire it in the manner it is being revealed and disseminate it to his people. The Almighty is revealing it as per His wisdom and expediency. He has taken upon Himself the responsibility of its collection and arrangement, protection and preservation, explanation and elucidation. The Prophet Muhammad ﷺ should not worry about any of these aspects. Section 4, verses 20 to 25. The disbelievers of the Day of Judgment are rebuked and told that they have no basis for this denial. Whatever baseless excuses they are offering originate from their love of this world against the call of their own conscience. They also originate from their indifference to the hereafter, whereas it is a certain reality. On that day, many faces will be fresh, expecting the blessings of their Lord, and many faces will be gloomy, thinking that a back-breaking calamity is about to befall them. Section 5, verses 26 to 40. No one should remain under the misconception that the Almighty will let people go scot-free. Everyone will have to face the agony of death, and in this state of helplessness will have to take the journey towards his Lord. Unfortunate is he who neither spent in the way of God nor prayed to Him. On the contrary, when he would be reminded of these duties, he would express utter ignorance and walk away conceitedly to his family. Everyone should remember the fact that it is not at all difficult for the Almighty to recreate man once he dies and decays, for it was the Almighty who created him from a drop of sperm and perfected him and blessed him with various abilities. Text of the Surah. Bismillahir Rahmanir Rahim. لا أقسم بيوم القيامة ولا أقسم بالنفس اللوامة أيحسب الإنسان أن لن نجمع عظامه بلى قادرين على أن نسوي بنانه بل يريد الإنسان ليفجر أمامه يسأل أيان يوم القيامة فإذا برق البصر وخسف القمر وجمع الشمس والقمر يقول الإنسان يومئذ أين المفر كلا لا وزر إلى ربك يومئذ المستقر ينبأ الإنسان يومئذ بما قدم وأخر بل الإنسان على نفسه بصيرا ولو ألقى معاذيرا لا تحرك به لسانك لتعجل به إن علينا جمعه وقرآنه فإذا قرأناه فاتبع قرآنه ثم إن علينا بيانه كلا بل تحبون العاجلة وتذرون الآخرة وجوه يومئذ ناظرة إلى ربها ناظرة ووجوه يومئذ باصرة تظن أن يفعل بها فاقرة كلا إذا بلغت التراقي وقيل من راق وظن أنه الفراق والتفت الساق بالساق إلى ربك يومئذ المساق فلا صدق ولا صلى ولكن كذب وتولى ثم ذهب إلى أهله يتمطى أولى لك فأولى ثم أولى لك فأولى أيحسب الإنسان أن يترك سدى ألم يك نطفة من مني يمنى ثم كان علقة فخلق فسوى فجعل منه الزوجين الذكر والأنثى أليس ذلك بقادر على أن يحيي الموتى. In the name of God, the most gracious, the ever merciful. By no means I swear by the day of judgment, and by no means I swear by the reproaching soul. Does man think that we will not be able to bring together his bones? Why not? We will put him together such that we will set right even the sections of his fingers. In fact, man wants to be mischievous before his conscience. He asks, when will the day of judgment come? Thus, when the sight is dazed and the moon eclipsed, and the sun and the moon brought together, at that time man will say, whither to flee? No, there is no refuge now. Towards your Lord, that day is the abode. On that day, man will be informed what he had sent forth and what he left behind. In fact, he himself is a witness upon his own self, however much he may put up excuses. To swiftly learn it, do not hastily move your tongue to read it. It is our responsibility to collect and to recite it. So when we have recited it, follow this recital. Then upon us is to explain it. Certainly not. In fact, you people only love this world and are heedless of the life to come. How many a face will be bright on that day, awaiting the graciousness of their Lord, and how many a face will be gloomy on that day, apprehending that there is going to befall them a back-breaking calamity. Certainly not. On that day, when the soul will be stuck in the collarbone, and it is said, who is it that can weave a spell now? And he will think that it is parting time, and the shank will embrace the shank. On that day, towards your Lord is the departure. Thus he neither testified nor prayed. On the contrary, he denied and turned away. Then he went away to his people conceitedly. Woe be to you! Yet again, woe be to you! And again, woe be to you! Yes, again, woe be to you! Does man think that he will be left to go unchecked? Was he not a mere drop of sperm poured forth? Then he became a clot of blood, and then God created him, and then perfected him, then made pairs of him, male and female. Is not God able to raise the dead to life?